Hi, thought I'd do a little bit of a vlog this week. I don't know how that's going to work because we'll be driving and visiting my family up in my hometown, Rochester, New York, later this week for Easter, but we'll see. It is a beautiful day here. It finally feels like spring and looks like spring. Do you see all the green back there? I'm just taking a short walk after coming from massage therapy, which was great. Neck's all loose. So I'll just share a little of this spring beauty with you. It's my favorite short path. It's a bridge. Just brilliant blue skies today. Lots of green, everything's greening up. Lots of flowers. I can't get my shadow out of the picture, but hopefully you can see the flowers. And just listen to the bird song for a minute. And here's another sign of spring around here. Skunk cabbage. This is a little low, wet area here, and it is just covered with skunk cabbage. Wow. I can also hear, besides all the birds singing, that woodpecker. Hi, Tuesday morning. I think I mentioned yesterday that this is a really busy week. For some reason, I try to be very careful not to have stuff planned every day, to have some quiet days at home in between, but somehow this week just ended up a mess of appointments and all kinds of things. So on the docket for today, it's senior day at Walgreens. That's the first Tuesday of every month. Mark it on your calendar. So I'm going to stop there and stock up on some things. Also get some stuff for Easter. I've got a few other quick errands to make. A drop off at the library. Just a few things to pick up at our natural food store. And then I have a visit planned with my book buddy. You've probably seen elsewhere on my channel that I love books and I love to read. And a few years ago, I signed up to be a book buddy with our local library. And that is to bring books to someone who can't get to the library themselves. So my book buddy is a woman in her 80s. And when I started with her, she couldn't get to the library very often because she was caring for her husband who had severe dementia. And she couldn't leave him home alone, and going out with him was a big deal. So we formed a friendship. And, I'd go over to visit, I'd bring her books, I'd take them back. Then the pandemic happened. We stayed in touch on the phone. And her husband died from his Alzheimer's disease after some really difficult times she went through and ended up having to put him in a care home. And then we were caring for my father-in-law, who was in a nearby nursing home. So long story short, we haven't spent much time together in the last few years. I think I visited her last summer and was ready to, get our visits going again. And then I had that horrible relapse. So very excited to be visiting her today. She now has her own caregiver who comes into the house, I think just during the day to kind of keep her company and help her with some things. But, she and I really like each other. We get along well. And Haven't talked to her in ages. So that's my big thing for today is a visit with my book buddy, and I'm looking forward to that. Luckily, my dinner with friends last night got canceled. I was really looking forward to it. They're my two closest friends, and we haven't all been together in a long time. But I say luckily just because this week is so packed full. Tomorrow I have a podcast interview at noon and then book group in the evening. So yeah, those are two things I wouldn't normally schedule on the same day, but there was no way around it. So I am just taking a little time for myself right now. I'm in my recliner, got my cup of hot herbal tea, and I'm just gonna kind of chill out for 20 minutes or so and relax. Work on my goals for the week, which aren't much because there's not much free time left. Later in the week, we'll leave for our trip to visit my family in Rochester. So that's about it. Oh, I did want to mention yesterday that on Sunday, my husband and I had a long talk on the phone with our older son. I had posted a quick update last week that our son, who's been sick since he was 10 years old, was starting his first ever full-time job. He has both ME/CFS plus Lyme plus another tick infection. We think he got rid of one tick infection, but he's still got the two. And it's been a long 19 years of ups and downs for him. And he is finally in good enough shape to work. So we were really excited to catch up with him on Sunday and hear all about his first week. We were worried about him making it 5 days, but he had to work 6 days on his first week. And his boss kept assuring him it's very rare that they work on a Saturday, but they needed to last week. So he actually worked 6 days in a row, full days, with a 40-minute commute on either end, involving 3 trains. And he was okay. He rested on Sunday. Yesterday, I texted with him, and he said he was pretty worn out, but, managing okay. And he's got some flexibility in the job. So he left a little bit early yesterday, and he was going to come in a little bit later this morning to give himself a little bit of recuperation time. So very excited. So far, it's working out. He loves the work. It's exactly what he's wanted to do since he graduated from college. And I don't know, I got the idea that he is really enjoying the intellectual stimulation again. And he likes his colleagues too. So all good news there. Just popping in again. I just left my book buddy's house. She has really aged a lot and is a lot less mobile than she used to be. So I'm really glad I was able to go visit her. We had a really nice catch up. And I just wanted to show you, look, first day with the top down. It is definitely spring. It's almost 70 out and the sun is shining, blue skies, buds in the trees. It's just beautiful. And it is now a full week since I recorded that last clip. Last week ended up even busier and more chaotic than I thought it was going to be. So let's see, a quick catch up, and then I will put this half vlog together. On Wednesday, first of all, when I recorded that last clip on Tuesday and was telling you how great my son's new job was going, I didn't know yet, because he wasn't up yet, that he was really, really sick. Not just a regular crash, but actually he woke up Tuesday morning with horrible chest congestion. He was up all night with fever and chills, just awful. Now, he and I both are very prone to bronchitis, pretty common in people with ME/CFS that our immune systems overreact to viruses and allergens, but underreact to bacteria. And so lots of us get repeat bacterial infections, things like bronchitis, strep throat, sinus infections. So anyway, it had been a long time since he'd had bronchitis, but he recognized it immediately. So shortly after I recorded that video, I talked to him on the phone. He called our primary care doctor here, and, she's known him for years and knows that he gets this all the time. So she called in a prescription of antibiotics for him. He got right on those. He ended up only missing that one day of work, Tuesday, though I was worried about him because he was really pushing himself. He didn't want to miss too much on his second week, but he really should have been home and resting. So he was home Tuesday. He did work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Luckily, there was nothing too exerting for him. And he had already told us he couldn't come to Easter up in my hometown of Rochester because it's like a 7-hour drive from where he lives with really bad traffic getting out of New York City. So we already knew he wasn't planning to come to Easter. He didn't have Friday or Monday off like a lot of people did. So that turned out to be really good because he spent all day Saturday and Sunday just completely resting. He loves to read, so he read all weekend. He took naps. He just completely took care of himself. Because he was still coughing a bit, he didn't even go to Easter with his girlfriend's family because she's got a grandma in her 90s that, he didn't want to expose her to whatever he had caught. So this was probably, like I said, he hasn't had bronchitis in a long time, but his last part-time job was pretty isolated. It was mostly him working on his own, driving himself to the work sites. So all of a sudden his office isn't very crowded, but he's riding public transit, 3 trains a day in each direction. Lots of time on public transit. He said he had been wearing a mask, but just his cloth mask. I sent him a new box of KN95s. So, end of the story is by Monday morning, yesterday, he was feeling great again. He said full energy, cough and congestion gone. So that's really good. So he went back to work yesterday morning and had a great day. So, my husband and I were so upset to hear that he was sick because it's like, this is exactly what we feared, that one full day of full-time work, 6 days, was just going to put him over the edge. But like I said, this wasn't a regular crash. He did actually catch something. So hopefully that's it for a while and he can just get into the groove with work and enjoy it. As for me, I crashed last week. It was too much for me. Wednesday, I did my podcast interview at noon. That sound is just the wind chimes. I wanted to come outside to show you how pretty it is out here. Anyway, Wednesday, I did the podcast interview at noon. Really enjoyed talking to the 2 hosts. It's called My Invisible Disease. It's a pretty new podcast, so I'll link to it down below so that you can check it out. Just click on that little word more in the description below this video to see all my notes, including a link to the podcast. Wonderful conversation. Really enjoyed talking to them. But as I had suspected, doing the interview and then going to book group in the evening was too much for me. I could tell in the afternoon that my heart rate was really high. I had a lot of tachycardia. And I did go to book group I rested as much as I could. I went to book group. I only made it about an hour. Halfway through, I just apologized and said I had to go home. I was just feeling worse and worse, and, had a little talk with myself and said, I can't do this. I can't push myself. And it's silly to just sit here feeling worse and worse, counting the minutes, Instead, I went home, laid down on the couch, and took it easy. So Thursday was kind of a down day. It wasn't too bad. I'm glad I didn't push myself further. But I was pretty run down, so just took it easy. And then Friday morning, we left for Rochester. I did not record any videos while we were away because I was just busy all the time and with other people. But we had a wonderful weekend with my family. It was a very quiet, relaxed weekend. Friday evening and Saturday morning, we just hung out with my stepmom at her house. That's where we were staying. Very comfortable, low-key. She's really sweet and kind and always understanding about my limitations. But luckily, by Friday and Saturday, I was feeling pretty good. Friday was good for me, like 8 straight hours in the car. I couldn't do too much because I was sitting, listening to music with my husband, flipping through magazines, took a very long nap in the back seat. It's kind of nice that our sons aren't traveling with us anymore, so I can lie down in the back seat when I nap. And for some reason, I nap really well in the car. I guess it's the movement. So anyway, we celebrated Easter early on Saturday with my family. We went over to my aunt and uncle's house, and my cousin and her boyfriend were there. Their kids, they're like close in age to my husband and I, my aunt and uncle. And so their kids are about the same age as our younger son. So my older son wasn't there and their younger daughter wasn't there because both of them just started new jobs. So we were really excited for both of them. And we did do a Zoom with them. And it was just a really nice Easter. So I will end this and just share a few photos from the weekend with you. I hope you also had a nice holiday if you celebrate Easter or Passover. I'm starting a new week here. We are planning to go camping next week. So kind of last minute. It's been in my head for a long time, but we haven't planned anything. But planning to drive down to Virginia, and usually we do that in April because it's warmer. It's supposed to be like 86 here this week. So we'll see how this goes. It might be too warm, but I think it's going to cool down next week again. So that's it for me for this week. Here are some photos from my Easter weekend and our trip to Rochester.